Morning guys, Andy the Budget Angler here. Just going to try another little float making video for you. The last one obviously went out a couple of weeks ago. This is Sunday, a week later. I've been having having a bit of experimentation, having a bit of fun. Got quite a few bits and bobs made in the week. I think I've got everything I need now to get stuff finished, which is really cool. And I'll show you some of the stuff I've made at the end of the video. What I'm going to show you today, I'm just going to try and make some little roach floats. So I don't know if you can see them there behind me. I'm going to try and make 8 of them. I want, they're for 4 nieces and nephews to take on the Norfolk Broad when we go out on the boat. They like to do a bit of fishing, and I just wanted to make some very nice little light, sensitive floats that, you know, quite quick, quite easy, made out of really cheap stuff. So if the kids sort of, you know, cast them into trees, step on them, drop them, lose them as they will, then it's not going to be the end of the world. But I also want to, you know, just something nice so they can have that's been made from as well. So what they are is a kebab skewer with a little verbascum stemmed body, and I'll just show you a bit of that now. It's this is the stuff. It's like a plant that was grown in the garden. I think I talked about it on the last video. It's sort of really, it's quite a hard, strong outer shell, and then a sort of a pithy middle. It's a little bit like elder, and I know I've seen on Facebook people using elder. I've seen people using bramble as well, which looks quite cool. I think if it floats, you can probably use it, and as long as it doesn't hold any moisture and you can varnish it, I think you know, most stuff, a lot of stuff, not most stuff, but a lot of stuff you can get out of the garden would work. Of course, you can use balsa, cork. I mean, for the little bodies, you can use anything really. Like if you've got some, you know, scraps of balsa, dowel, or foam. I know I've seen some videos on YouTube, people in America using earplugs for floats. So like the foamy stuff, I think they might be a bit soft, but I suppose if you put a hard lacquer on them, they might work all right. So I'll just show you how I've been making that now. Right, so that's the verbascum stem. See if I can tip that down a bit. And all I've been doing is just cutting it with a sharp Stanley knife, and you could use this on the reed as well that I was using last week. This was a tip someone, I can't remember who it was now, on the YouTube comment, so thank you for that. Just using a Stanley knife, and there are various ways you could do it, but if you've got quite a grippy surface, you can just roll it along, keep your fingers well out of the way, and then that'll cut through, you know, to the desired length. And because it's quite soft, you might actually be able to just push the skewer through. This one's not going to go. I think it's a little bit thin. And so, because like the pith's soft, but it's still quite light. So I've just been using, I've got a little drill driver. Just go through and just use it to widen it a bit as well. Obviously don't push too hard on the sides, you could kind of break the drill bit. But I mean, because it's so, sorry, I'm talking while I'm drilling. Because it's so soft in the middle, it's easy to do. You haven't got to sort of do like a guide hole or anything like that, and you should be able to, he says, get your skewer through. I've just given this a bit of a sand as well, just to make it a little bit thinner. You know, you adjust it because you don't want it. Don't go too mad. Do it bit by bit, gradually, because you want it to be nice and snug. And then what you can do is just put a little. I'm just going to put a little dobble of super glue on the end and glue that. But well, actually, I'm rushing a step here. And this now needs to be shaped to the sort of tapered ends to make it look a bit nicer. I mean, you could literally use that, and it would work, but it wouldn't look that attractive. And what we want to go for is sort of something like that, like a nice round, almost like a bean shape, I suppose, just to make it look attractive. And then also, if you want to do any decorative whipping, it's easier to sort of move up the stem and onto the body, which I probably will do. This is kind of what I'm aiming for, something like that. This is a practice one. I do these practice ones just to see if stuff works really before I commit to anything for the video. Excuse the old mess on my worktop. I've only had it a week and it's already messy. It's just a bit of board I've clamped to a workmate in the spare room. So this is the kind of thing. This is what they're going to look like ultimately. So right, to get the shape of this, what I did is just to make it quicker. You could do it all with sandpaper, but I've just taken, just slowly but surely, sort of tapered it down with a sharp Stanley knife blade. I don't know if you can see that. Until you sort of get near it, and then just use the sandpaper to finish it off. That's sort of more or less there now. You can give it another little sand as well once it's glued into place. Especially if you use super glue, it'll glue nice and tight, and then you can then really get these ends right down to a fine. You want them almost sort of invisible to a point, if you know what I mean. Sort of so there's no flat at all there, so it's just easy to whip on and whip off. And what I've found is if you try and make everything symmetrical, when it comes to sort of decorating them and finishing them, everything's just so much easier if it all sort of works with perfect symmetry. Just a little double of glue there, 2 or 3, and then nice and tight. Get it. It will set quickly. That's pretty much set now, and it's because it's a nice tight fit. Super glue kind of works when you squeeze it together and the oxygen or the air gets taken out. That's when it actually sets. I'm not sure if that's sort of a scientific thing or if that's just how it is. But that obviously watch your fingers. Super glue glues everything. Wear gloves if you're not sure or you're doing it with kids or whatever. And don't use too much of it. It's cyanide based super glue, and I spilt some the other day, and like some fumes came off it, and they burnt my eyes. It was really quite painful. So yeah, just obviously be careful with any chemicals, tools, everything like that. Yeah, so then once that's done, you can just give it a clean up with a bit of sandpaper, and then get it painted, and you'll end up with something like this. These are going to be completely painted bodies. I'm going to do them in pink and blue for the boys and the girls. My sister's 3 kids and my brother's son. That's Ruby, Maeve, Alfie, and Jordan. They all watch the video, so shout out to them. I'm sure they'll be happy with this. Right, I've just masked these off now. Some people don't mask; they've got a much steadier hand than me, and then they can just eye it in. But I've masked it because I want to do a sort of a coloured tip, and then a white bit on the body itself, just with a little bit of black lining in between, and just different coloured tips, so the kids, if they're fishing near each other, they'll know whose float is whose. I thought I was just filming, showing you putting the last of the first coats on. I don't know. I don't think I filmed it. I've just realised it wasn't recording. So that's that done. They'll get about 5 coats. It looks a bit wishy-washy there, but once you get a few coats on, it really shines, really stands out. This is got these sort of pink and yellow there on a couple of reed inserts that I'm in the middle of making. They need to be varnished. They've got the eyes on now. Yeah, really about 5 or 6 coats, fine coats, and it's a really nice finish. I think I put a link in the last video to the paint. It's out of stock now on Amazon apparently. Probably been a run on it. But this stuff, this FX Fluor from, I think it's called, is it Scale 75 is the company that makes it. It's model making paint for these sort of fantasy models, Lord of the Rings stuff. Really cool. And just the base coat, I forgot to say earlier, is a white wall emulsion that's just been a bit watered down. So what I'll do now is periodically throughout the day, I'll come up and put a coat on each one. As it dries, I'm doing other things, and then I'll come back to you a bit later, or maybe tomorrow now, and we'll get on with the rest of it. As you can see, I've finished the paint. It's the same day. It's about 4 o'clock now, so I've been on and off, up and down, just doing coat. They ended up with 5 coats of the neon colours. They look quite nice. Quite a nice smooth finish. I think they'll be okay once they're varnished. I've remasked them now, and I'm going to put a little yellow band underneath, and I'm going to just mask the bottom bit and then eye the top in, just sort of along here, and then I'll whip a black band to differentiate it, and then one underneath, and then just to give them a bit more visibility. I probably should have done it further up the tip, to be honest. I think it might be a bit too far down the body. It'll probably end up being shotted under the water and invisible, but it might show for lift bite, so I think it'll still have some use, but I think it'll make the floats look quite nice as well. So that'll be the next job that I'll look at that. Right guys, well I was going to come and do a film of putting another coat of paint on the yellow in the sun. But they don't need another coat. I'm happy with that. They look all right. So next job is to whip the black lines on. But I'm not going to do that tonight because I've got a family quiz that I'm hosting. So on the House Party app. So I'm going to go and do that now. But this is sort of today's efforts. Just sat in the garden. The last of the Vibascum stems. Just drilled them out. Kebab skewer insert both ends, eye and tip, and that sort of pithy, nice and pithy inside, nice and light. I think they'll make some nice little insert floats. So yeah, they should be quite good. Right guys, here we are back. As you can see, I've removed the mask. This is the next day. We are now Monday. So I think I started these Saturday, but I started filming yesterday, didn't I? Terrible hay fever today, so excuse me if I sound bunged up, and if I start sneezing, then I'll try and stop filming. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is now make up the paint for the main bodies. I want these to be brightly coloured, so I'm going to do them pink and blue for the boys and girls, just really as an experiment for me, for the painting, and also just something, you know, something different, and just to try something new. So I'm just going to mix up my white emulsion with a little bit of these fluorescent paints to get the colours. So I'm going to just have a go at the blue one, and I've got some pots with lids that I can save the paint and use it for other stuff as well. But I'm only going to need like a dribble. That's probably way too much. See that there? And let's add just a squirt of this. It's supposed to be like neon, but I don't think you can really get neon blue. But and apologies, the light's going a bit. But I'm just going to add a drop, really. You can see that. Let's give it a mix and see how it looks. Right, there it is mixed up. You can see that's a nice pale blue. I'm going to now start giving them a coating. There's probably way too much paint there, but I'm going to probably, they're probably going to end up having a few coats of this, maybe 4 or 5. So I'll get cracking on that, and then I'll come back to you when I'm doing the purple. Right, that's the first of the blues with the blue coat on. You can see I've not gone right to the bottom because I can just trim that down to the desired length then, and then you're not faffing about trying to pinch it with fingers or anything like that. Especially when you're painting the whole thing, and then it can just sit in this drilled bit of wood I've made. I've actually eyed that line in, and as you can see, it's somewhat neat. But I just want to get a bit of practice really painting by hand, because I think it would be a lot quicker if I want to make batches up. It would be a lot quicker if I don't have to mask everything, and people do it, so I think it's just a matter of me practicing, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm resting both hands on the bench to make it a bit steadier, and then I'll cut it in, or if that's the right word. And of course, if the line's not perfect, I will be whipping black banding onto this, which will hide a multitude of sins. So it's like putting the skirting board around the dodgy plastering at the bottom of a wall. That should neaten that up. Just try and smooth out any bubbles. When I mixed it up, the paint had a few bubbles in it, so I had to let it settle for a bit, which is why it's got a bit darker and I've got the light on now. But I think it might be the type of brushes I'm using. So I've got a few little artist brushes, bits and bobs like kicking about. So I'm going to try some different ones. I think to do the lines, a square-ended brush would be better. This is like a slightly tapered, although it's getting a bit raggedy. It's getting well used and well washed every time. But I reckon these will look smart enough when they're done. I think this blue would make quite a nice base coat for like a canal waggler, like a canal grey. Some people used to call them, instead of a grey, a baby blue. Right, that's the blue done, guys, as you can see. One of them, you can just see that one there. I've nicked a bit of the paint off, evidently, with the masking tape. Missed that. That's the first coat. It went on nice and smooth. I'm quite happy with the finish of it. and the bubbles disappeared nice and quick out of the paint. So that's great. That'll I reckon that's going to need 4 or 5 coats to really get it nice and blue. So let's mix up the purple, which is going to be the base coat for the girls' ones. So just the more this fluorescent paint. It was out of stock on Amazon after, I think I might have bought the last one. It was about 13 quid, and it's back in stock on there now. It's got up to 30 quid. But I've had loads of people message me on Facebook asking me what it is. So I wonder if they've cottoned on that someone's wanting to use it. Oh, bit of a drip. That's probably a bit more, but nice and purple. I'll give that, I don't know if you can see that in there. Give it a mix. I reckon you could do some quite nice marbling techniques as well. That's a very pale purple actually. It's a little bit more pale than I was hoping for. The blue took a much better colour than that purple. But I don't want to squirt any more in because it's so expensive. Well, let's see what it looks like. I'll apply it and see if it darkens with a coat. It's still quite mauve. Reminds me of the sort of thing your nan might paint on the bedroom wall. It's like lavender. Right guys, back again. Tuesday now. As you can see, I've whipped the blue ones. Just using this. It's like a synthetic thread. It's quite thick, but it does make it easier to work with when you're practicing. I have ordered some coloured silks, which wasn't that dear actually. They're about £1.25 for 80 meters, and this is 1,300 meters and was about the same price. From eBay, so it just goes to show the difference. But I mean, it's done pretty well for loads of stuff. It's nice and strong, it's easy to cut, and you know, I think because I'm giving these to the kids, I'm not going to sort of, you know, go into the fine whipping. And I think as well, sort of, I've been practicing with the polyester thread, which I used on some of the earlier stuff, just from Wilkinson's, I think. Got it to sew on a button, and this is a bit fluffy, but it is a much finer thread, and I've been practicing, and I think unless you get where I've masked it, you get like a little lump in the paint around the masking tape. I don't know if you can see it on one of these or not. You might be able to. But there's like a, just at the actual bit there's like a lump, and it's actually about the same thickness as the width of the thread, so it actually makes whipping over it really difficult. So if I'm going to be using fine silk, I know I'm definitely going to have to, you know, all these little bits here that are a little bit rough, they're all going to have to be trimmed and done much more neatly. And I think that's definitely something I've learned is precision, and they are getting neater, but it's all trial and error, and this has been a great learning curve doing these. And as you can see, the other Verbascum or mullein stem ones that I'm making are coming along. They've got their tips painted on now. I'm going to try some in like the white. It's called Brilliant White. It's from the same range of paints, fluorescent stuff, but it's actually more like a pearlescent colour. But I think it'll be quite visible. You know, obviously white. You know, white float tips are anyway. So I think just get some black banding on some of those, and they look quite nice. So I'm going to continue whipping on the on these purple ones, and I'll show you a bit of that now, and then it'll be putting the eyes on and ready for the varnish. Right, so I'm pinching the cord or thread in this hand. I'm going to work right to left, so you go around where you want to start. I always find it's easier to work going up the slope of the shoulders of the float. Pinch the start point, starting whip. Go around a couple of turns to get a nice grip on the tail of the string, this bit here. Now I'm going to nip this off. I'm using these side cutters because I can get in closer, and my Stanley knife blades are not that sharp, and I got glue on the last couple and I haven't got any, and I can't get out and get any more, and I'm not going to order any online either because they're too expensive online, even cheap ones. Right, I'm going to come back a couple of times because I should have put the draw wire in there now. Drawstring. Put that on. Just try and pinch that without letting go of the whip, the line you're whipping with. It's a bit of a fiddle, but you with practice you'll get there. I'll glue my fingers there. Use a different coloured bit of cord if you can as well. It'll make your life easier when you're trying to remember which one you need to pull out. Just keep it all out of the way. Right, that's it. Trim that. Put it back through. I'm trying to see this as best I can. I'm looking over the top of the phone, which I'm filming it on, and it's much further away from my face than it would normally be. So if this doesn't look neat, that's why. I should pull that a bit tight, and then just put it through. Sometimes that bottom one comes down a bit. It's not that even. But also this wasn't, I don't think my sanding was that neat. So that's it there. There's that lumped up a bit there. I can't actually see that. I don't want it right. I'm going to trim that and have a look at it, and then so that's a bit slopey, as you can see, but that's because the way that I've shaped this. If you can see, it's flat down that side and slopey there, and that's just, it's just things I'm learning that I know I need to make these perfectly symmetrical to get a better whip. But once they're all on and tidy, they don't look too bad, to be honest. And I'll continue that, whip the rest of them up, and then come back to you when I put I'll show you putting an eye on, and then it'll be time to varnish them. Well guys, back again, Wednesday evening, and me day at work, and just having a cider now, and as you can see, the whipping on the bodies is finished. A little bit squiggly wiggly on some of them. One there's a bit mental around the yellow, but it's all nice and tight and not bunched up. That is actually all flat to the float, so you know it should varnish over nice. Now I've just put the eye on that one. I'm using little brass safety pins that I got on eBay. They were $1.80 for 30 of them. There. Yeah, and so what I had been using is this stainless steel florist wire I got, and just a little sort of I made one of these little formers. There's loads of people do these on YouTube. It's just 2 panel pins put into just a little chunk of wood I had, and then I figure of 8 round it with the florist wire, and then you can snip them off of there, and you get loads of nice little eyes. And obviously you can adjust the size by adjusting the size of the nail that you whack in the wood. But I'll do a little video just a quick short one just on making the eyes with one of these. I'm making one of these in I'll do that, you know, for this week or next. But yeah, that's just an idea. You just wrap florist wire twice round, you know, once fully round the nail, and then you figure of 8 it around them, and then you snip them there, and you just get, you know, well, I think I'll get about 8 eyes there. So yeah, it's just a little way of producing a few at a time. But as I say, for these tiny little floats, I want to use these little brass ones because I just think the wire is slightly finer and they'll be just look a bit neater whipped onto the kebab skewer. So I've trimmed them down as well, so they're all the same length, as you'll be able to see. I thought about just painting the ends just to give them a bit more protection, but I'm just going to, because they're going to get a good coating of varnish, I think that'll be okay. And I think, you know, lots of floats are made unpainted and they work fine, so I'm not going to worry about that, just to get them going. Yeah, so they're quite small, quite short, but I think they're going to, you know, they definitely work. They look great, and so I'm just going to put an eye on each one. And by the way, I just cut the ends off of these with a sharp Stanley knife, just pushed on the board. and then just turn the float really along the board, not too hard, to knock the paint off, and you know, you don't want to scuff up the whipping because this is just a rough old bit of fiberboard. Right, let's have a go at whipping on one of these eyes. Done a couple already. So you just want to start. So I'm pinching the eye and the tail, and I'm going, obviously the tail goes along the way you're going to go, so you're going to be grabbing the tail with the first few turns. You can get it nice and tight. Make sure you're biting it up. Turn it as well so you can see, because what I did find when I first started doing this was I was getting it all neat on one side of it, and then I'd look on the other and I'd sort of, you know, I'd left a gap or nipped over the last whip and made it a lump. So just turn it. There you go. I don't know if you can see that. No, it's not in focus. There you go. Sorry about that. There is a gap there, and then you just cinch it up. Oh, now there's a gap on that side. You just want it nice and neat. I'm just going to nip that tail off now. Got these braid scissors. Oh, blimey. I need to get a little craft knife is what I need, a little tiny scalpel, and I haven't got one. I had a little set and I don't know where they are. Right. Right, just be careful when you're going over the ends of the pin, the cut ends, because they can be sharp, especially if it's wire. And you've used side cutters, that will actually pinch it into a little sort of spearhead blade at the end, tiny weeny one. I brushed off some of the florist wires ones I use. I brushed it off, not brushed it off, just went over it with a little emery paper just to just scuffed it down a bit, just to take that sharp cutting edge off, dull it a little bit. Alright, so I'm just going to trim it. Get the bit that I'm going to use to draw it through. I'm going to pinch that, wrap around, make sure you don't grab it, and then do 3 or 4 turns. So you put it back through, left a gap there. I'm just using my fingernail to butt that up. That's it. Obviously you don't want to pick the paint off, so be gentle. I'm trying to do this neatly, but I'm holding this away in front of the camera, further away than I would normally be. I now have no idea how many turns I've done over that either. Let's bring it back round. Right, put it through the loop, and then because I'm using this thick cord, that's it, pull it through, and then it will sometimes sort of go a bit diagonal, and then just cinch it all neatly, pull it tight. There are loads better videos than this, by the way, guys. I'm just showing you, you know, for the completeness of this video. And really, this is, this is not me giving you instructions on how to do it. Or, well, I suppose it is, but what you want to do is go on YouTube. That's far too long. What you can actually do is just, if it is a bit long, just tuck it back in its groove, and it will disappear. There's a little tiny fluffy bit sticking out. You can probably see that. So what I'm just going to do, there we go. Just use the back end now, and you can just neaten that off. And there you have it. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all. A little tiny nibbly bit there. I wonder if I can just That's made it smaller. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. That'll varnish over, I think. If I'd had a little craft knife, I would have cut that a little bit finer, to be honest. But these are only for the kids, so yeah. So I mean, you know, you'll get the picture of this. Sorry if loads of that wasn't in focus with my hands in the way. It's probably focusing on my hands. You can see my scuffed up hands and sunburn freckles. Yeah, so right, I'll go through. I'm going to whip up the rest of them, and then I'm going to come back to you tomorrow now for the varnishing. And I've set up like a little washing line thing, which will go across here, and we can have a look at the varnishing tomorrow. And then hopefully I can get this edited tomorrow night, and we'll get it out for you on Sunday. Well, guys, here we are. It's now Friday. I can't remember when I last came and showed you this, but I've been varnishing now since I started yesterday afternoon. They've had 3 coats. I'm just going to put a 4th coat on now, but I'm just gonna wrap this up now and show you the complete. I don't think the next coat, the 4th and final, I think it will be, probably won't show up much difference on the video. So I'm going to show you these now, and I'll put up a photo of them at the end of the video, sort of a better, just so you can get a good look at what they look like. But you can see they're lovely and shiny. It's the acrylic, water-based acrylic. Sorry if the lighting's gone a bit weird. It's really bright behind me coming through the window, but the sun's sort of shaded by clouds, but there is a lot of sun out there, so I don't know why this video is looking so dark, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure what's gone on there, so sorry about that. So that's it really. That's the finished article. The little roach float. I've got 4 pink ones, 4 blue ones, with the nice green tips. There, pink one there, pink and orange. Hopefully that's given you some idea. I mean, it's only a tiny float. You can see it there on my hand. You know what you can do, just kebab skewer, a little bit of verbascum stem out the garden. You can use reed, balsa. I think I mentioned what you could use. A safety pin for the eye, and a bit of paint. So yeah, I think the kids will be able to use these. They're pretty tough, the old kebab skewers. A few of them are bound to get dropped and stepped on, but that's part and parcel of showing kids to fish, ain't it? I can remember my dad getting really exasperated actually with me getting the line in a tangle, keeping the rod tip too high, too low when you're carrying it or moving around with it. Get the rod tip up. It's going to go in the garden. It's going to go in the ground and snap. So yeah, I'll just hang that back up, and we'll get that get the last coat of varnish on them. They might have another couple, to be fair. Although I don't want them to be too. I don't like them to look when it's all sort of thickly laid on. So I've watered it down. This is the varnish I've been using. And I'm just using a sort of square-ended brush. I've put it in this tray just so I could get a large quantity all watered down the same, so I'm not sort of mixing little bits up as I go, and I just keep a top on it so it doesn't evaporate. This is the actual specific varnish. I think it was about 12 quid for a 500ml bottle. It's model making varnish. I got it online. I suspect I'll probably be able to get something better and cheaper from builders merchants or a hobby shop or something. I want to try floor sealer. I want to try yacht varnish. I might even just try some sort of standard external varnishes, because this is quite a flexible varnish, so it takes ages for it to sort of go hard. I've had some sort of varnish for over a week, and they're and the varnish is kind of still a little bit it's flexible. I don't think it'll ever get much harder than it is, to be honest. But there we go. So I want to, I'm still learning loads, still got loads to try. This is only like the, sort of 4th set of floats I've made, really. I've got a load more projects on the go. They're all ready for varnishing. It's just a various selections there. So yeah, they're all ready to go. Well, hopefully that was a useful video for you. I think I've waffled on a bit. I'm going to go and edit it now and get this out. Hopefully it'll go out Sunday. It's obviously Friday now. I'm going to meet a couple of mates for a couple of beers on Zoom in a minute, so that'll be good. And I hope you've all been keeping well, looking after yourselves during lockdown. If you've got any ideas of floats you want me to make, or there's a couple, you got anything you want me to have a go at, I'm going to try shaping some cork and doing some perch bobbers next. I don't know whether I'll do a video about it yet. I don't really want to become a float making channel. There are loads of them out there and far better ones than me. But in the absence of things to do during lockdown, this might be what we've got for the foreseeable future. because I think we're in for a bit longer yet, to be honest, which is a bit of a shame, but there we go. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed it, do drop me a sub. Hit the thumbs up button at the bottom of this video. That'd be great. And I'll see you all on the next one. Cheers, guys. Fish on.